Hello everyone, this is Sharmin Khan again from Milkyway Art Design. So today I made a video where it would show that if you make a mistake when you are resining your art, and how do you fix those mistakes. The reason I am making this video is I saw and I found a lot of videos in the internet where it shows that how to resin your art, but not many videos where you make a mistake and how do you fix your mistakes. The piece that I'm showing you right now, you can see on the corners, I can see the canvas grains, and also the sides are not very nicely done. So I am going to resin this piece again on top of this old resin so I can fix my mistakes or imperfections. You can see that the top of the surface is pretty much nice, but the sides are the one where I have all the problems. And I'm showing you the back. What I have done is I taped the bottom and I cut this plastic sheet which is pretty firm. The plastic sheet that I picked, I cut it 1/4 inch shorter than the width of this canvas, and then I put it inside the frame so it will hold the top surface nicely and steadily, so it doesn't sink. You have to understand one thing, resin is very heavy, so you have to give some kind of support to the canvas. So the thing that I got, the corners are not very smooth, that doesn't happen. So you could see that I cut my the plastic into two parts and I slided both of them inside. Now you can see that the top is pretty much steady. So now if I resin it right now, it should be perfect. I did cut those plastic sheets 1/4 inch shorter than the dimension of the canvas, but as I was trying to put them in, I saw that they are still bent, so I'm losing 1/8 inch more. So the goal is to make sure that it can support the surface of the canvas very strongly so it doesn't bend again and I get those grainy corners on the canvas. So now this one is ready to be resined for the second time. The next piece that I am going to resin today, you can see those imperfections. When I resined it last time, there was a dust storm in our area. So what happened was, after the dust storm, I forgot to close the windows. When you resin, you have to keep your windows open for ventilations. So I forgot to close those windows, and as a result, all those imperfections dropped on the art and it messed it up. So for resin, I use Promarine tabletop resins, and I bought a 1 gallon kit and I'm going to use them. I really like using them. I have been using them for a while, so this is what I am going to stick with. And it has 2 parts, and whatever you are mixing, you just make sure you take half of or equal part of each one of these hardener and the resin to mix it well for 3 minutes and you'll be ready to go. So one more thing I want to address, when you buy resin, make sure that you don't buy too much unless you're using them. Last batch that I bought a 2 gallon mixture. Well, the problem was I did not use 2 gallons because that time the art that I was producing, I used polyacrylic resin on those ones for the most part. As a result, the resin was sitting in my closet for more than a year and it turned yellow. Yes, I'm telling you, it really turned yellow. So make sure don't buy too much at a time unless you are using them. So this time I bought 1 gallon kit instead of 2 gallon kit, and I'm sure this time I'll be done, because the type of art that I'm doing right now, I'm resining them a lot because of all the shimmers of the pigments that I'm using. I love resining them. So this time you could see that I just used a 3-ounce cup, and I'm just filling that cup up by first the B part, and now I'm filling it up with A part, equal amount, and I'm going to mix those two into the plastic cup. When you mix them, you have to make sure that you are mixing it for 3 minutes at least to get, and when you mix, make sure you are scraping it very well. So as you can see that I am making sure that my cup was full exactly the same way it was before. So now I am going to pour both of them in the same cup and mix them well. You can see that as I'm scraping, I'm making sure I really scrape that white container really well, because I have, remember, it has to be equal amount, so you have to be a little bit picky about the amount you are taking. So make sure you scrape the container really well and then mix both of them together. Now I am going to mix both of them very well, making sure that everything is incorporated and scrape every surface they are touching. At this point, it's been almost 2 minutes. Total mixing time is 3 minutes. So what I do is during winter, the mixture gets very tight because the hardener is kind of stiffer. So what I do is I pour a little bit of warm water in the plastic container and I soak my mixture into that container and I mix it. That way the mixture, you can see that the mixture is getting more liquidy because of the temperature. So as you can see that I'm mixing and making sure total my mixing time is at least 3 minutes. So that's what I'm doing now. And at this point I am done. And you will see that I have tons of bubbles in my mixture. As I'm mixing almost to the end, a couple of things I want to address, that make sure you're wearing gloves and also your room is ventilated. So I open my window, make sure that outside air is coming into my room, because at the end of the day you are dealing with resin. And now I'm ready. So let's see what I do. So to start with, as you can see that I am pouring a little bit of mixture on top of the surface, and I'm going to use my spatula or the stick that I am stirring the resin with to spread out my resin on top of the surface. You can see that I did not take too much because I will be adding later on as I need to bases. And one more thing about these kind of canvases, because these canvases are gallery wrapped, they are pretty thick, so a lot of resin is needed, or you need to make sure that you are spreading the resins on the sides of the canvas. Look at this trick. I use this trick a lot to make sure that my canvases look professional on the edges, and a lot of the time I use my gloves hand to spread the resin on the side of these kind of canvases. Maybe next time when I pour on this thicker canvas and I plan to resin them, probably I will tape the sides so I don't have to worry about this part, because sometimes these are really takes a lot of time. So as you can see that all the four sides, I'm making sure that they are shiny and they are nice and smooth. And now I kind of roughly I covered all surfaces of this canvas, so I would leave it alone. And every time I do resin, I do a batch of resin. The reason is you need to make sure that your window is open, you have well ventilated area and all that. So I don't have time. A lot of the time I do my painting at night time, so when I am doing my resin it has to be during daytime, so I can leave my windows open and all that. So usually when I'm doing my resin, I make sure that I have enough artwork to resin with the batch that I mixed together. So now I am going to pour some resin on this paint, and you also hopefully have noticed that I did not torch my other canvas right now, because the reason is I know that the time that I have when the resin is like soft and I can alter around, by that time I'll be done with this piece and maybe a couple more pieces, because as the resin is sitting on top of the canvas, it will keep on making bubbles, so you have to go and torch it periodically. So I am not really worried about torching it for the first time. I'm just letting it sit so I can focus on resining this next piece. And this piece had some imperfections I showed you earlier, so I have to make sure that I have thick enough resin on top of this one for the second time, so I can cover all the imperfections. Again, I'm using my spatula to cover the entire surface, and my goal is to leave a lot of resin on top of the surface. So I'm just first time making sure that all the area surface area is covered with resin. Then I'll concentrate on making everything smooth. When you resin, you really have to take the time. You cannot rush through it. You have to take the time to make sure that all the corners are smooth and they are straight, and you are literally looking and checking as you go to make sure that you are resining the entire surface. There is no dots or globs in any sides. As you can see that I am making sure, and you also want to pour too much resin on the surface, because then it will start dripping and then you have to clean them up and all those. So I I poured some resin, then I spread it, and after that you'll see as I keep on working, I'll go back and I will put a dab of resin here and there as needed basis. Now I am making sure that there is no fuzzy stuff on the surface. So you can see that I'm using a stick to or skewer to pick up any fuzzy stuff going on the surface. And also you can see that after I am done with my first pouring, I'm going back and I am filling up some spots as I go, because again it will take some time to dry or like harden the resin, so you have enough time to make sure that you are covering all the corners and surfaces. And yet you see that I did not use my torch yet on the last piece as well. Right now I am going to resin another little piece, which is a 10 by 10 piece, and I was really eager to work on it because I have used some glitters to embellish this little piece. So I am pouring my resin on this one and I'll see how it looks like. So again I am doing the same process, and I want to remind you that I have not torched any of my resin pieces yet. Is it the right way to do it? I don't know. It works for me, so I'm just sharing you what I do. So first I'm spreading on my surface, and then I will make sure that my resins are also on the sides. So you can see I am using my finger to do that part. Again, probably now from now on, if I plan to resin something, I will put a tape on the sides as far as canvas goes, but on the wooden panel I would do as I do right now. I would not do anything differently because I love the way wooden panel turns out. So now you can see that I made sure I covered all four sides, and now I'm focusing on the canvas. And as I am making sure that I mixed I covered all the sides of the canvas, I am kind of dipping my finger here and there from the center, and I'm spreading evenly all sides. So now I am done covering all sides of this canvas. So you can see that when I again, this is my third piece and I still did not torch any of the three pieces that I have covered with resin at this point. Now that I'm done with spreading my resin in all three pieces, I am going back and I am going to torch all three pieces all together. So I change my gloves and I'll start torching each and every pieces one at a time. And at this time I'm making sure if there is any imperfection, I'll use a skewer to pick up any felt or lint that I can see on the surface. And as you can see that I'm making sure very well that I'm torching each and every surface. And trust me, even though it's been maybe 7-8 minutes, a good 7-8 minutes, still my resin is wet and it's not solidified. So it's perfectly fine that if you are torching it now rather than at the beginning, or like right after you poured your resin. So I you also want more thing I want to make sure you turn your art in different directions to make sure that you are blowing each and every sides or every surface of the resin. Why? Because the little bubbles that it creates during first 1 hour of you pour the resin in, sometimes they are so little that you will not be able to see them from one angle, but when you turn your art you will see them from the different direction. So that's what I'm doing. And again, see, this time once I turned my art, I could see that there are some imperfections and there are some felts or lint on the surface. So I took care of them, and I'm blowing my torch on the art from the other angle. So now I am done with this piece and it looks stunning. I'll show you once everything dries how did they turn out. So let's move on to the next piece. So on the next piece you can also see that there are some lint, so I'm taking care of them. And at this point you might see that here and there are some imperfections. You can all you can do is you can pour tiny bit of extra resin on those spots and let it sit down. I'm going to do the same process with the next painting as well. So again, you have to repeat this process again and again. And see what I'm doing right now. I'm blowing torch on the surface area of the canvas. I am going to go back doing the same process on each and every one of these paintings at least 2 more times. So basically during the first 1 hour of resining, you have to go back at least 3 times and recheck and torch your art to make sure that there is no more bubble there, because there would be this little itty bitty tiny bubbles growing as the resin tries to settle down. Like I said, you have to repeat this process several times. So you can see that I'm bringing in my first painting that I resined, and this is the second time I'm going through blowing torch on it to make sure all the bubbles are gone. And I'm going to repeat the same process with the other ones, and after 15 minutes or so I will go back and repeat the same process all over again. Here is a thing I wanted to share with you. I often do. So as you can see that I resined 3 pieces of art, and also I still have some leftovers. So I have 2 options. Either let it go, like harden it and just get rid of it, or I can get it to work for me. So what I do often, and it always works for me, and I'm not sure if it's the right thing to do, but this is what I do. Whatever I have left over, I would put it on another piece of painting, and as you can see I don't have enough, but I'm scraping and spreading it as much as possible, and when I blow torch on it, it'll be a little bit thinner. So what I'm doing is I am just utilizing whatever the leftover I have on this piece of art, and when I mix or when I have my next resin day, I will re-resin this one more time to make sure that it's nice and perfect. But for now, this is what I am getting. Sometimes especially with this new technique that I'm trying, when the flower dries, you really can't see the true beauty of this art. So I'm so eager to resin them to see the true color of the flowers. So that is the motivation behind resining this one so early. But again, I am just not wasting any of my resins. Since I mixed it, I would just use this one so it doesn't go to waste. I apologize for making today's video so long, but I thought that if you really want to see how it goes in my house or my studio, this is how it looks like. It's a messy process, but I often get good results. So if you ask me like how often I get the perfect resin at the first try, I would say 50% of the time, and rest of the 50% I have to go back and fix it for the second time. So I hope you enjoyed my video, and if you like it, please put a thumbs up and subscribe my video. Thank you.